When you think about gaming in the 70s, chances are your mind drifts to various Pong consoles or the Atari 2600. But one system is rarely ever talked about, despite it being one of the most important and groundbreaking consoles of its time: the Fairchild Channel F. I streamed this a while back with Mike, and this was my first ever experience playing the console.
Ah! Oh my fuck!
Quality?
Yeah, like this system.
Yeah. It was fun, but I didn't totally fall in love with it. However, I still wanted to dive deeper into its history and see what it's all about. And I'm glad I did. Originally known as the Fairchild Video Entertainment System, or the VES for short, the Channel F spawned the beginning of modern video game consoles as we know it. It was the first console ever to use cartridges, which was a big deal because this opened up the possibility of creating a library of games that could continuously grow, which in turn could hypothetically extend the system's shelf life. It wasn't limited to the few games built onto the system, like the Pong consoles or Magnavox Odyssey. I kind of think of the system as a beefier Pong console, in a sense. Yes, it plays cartridge games, but it also has a Pong game built in, which is great, by the way. You can't go wrong with Pong. When it was released in 1976, it sold for $169.95, which is around $750 in today's money. So, it wasn't a cheap system. It was also the first system to have a microprocessor and have detachable controllers. The controllers for this system are pretty remarkable. It's perfectly designed to fit in your hand, and it has an interesting triangle-shaped thingy on top that can move in 8 directions. This triangular thingamabob could twist, be pulled up, or pushed down. At first I had trouble getting used to it, but once I got it, I found it really comfortable. Apparently, the controllers were more popular than the system itself. They made a version that could work with the Commodore 64, the Amiga, and the Atari 2600. This was called the Video Command Joystick. Damn, I love that color scheme and font. Although it paved the way for systems like the Atari 2600, it unfortunately got completely outshined by its competitors. Compared to the 2600, the Fairchild's graphics weren't as good, and it didn't have the amount of memorable games that the Atari had. Fairchild released a newer version of the console to try and distance themselves from Atari, but it didn't work out. The damage was done. It only had 26 games in its library, but that's really not a bad start for the first system to utilize cartridges, or in Channel F speak, video carts. Most of the carts played more than one game, and they retailed at the time for $19.95. It definitely served its purpose for offering a variety of games, and some weren't too bad. We only had a few, but my friend Paul was kind enough to let us borrow some of his collection so we can really see what these are all about. Oh my god, this one still has the Montgomery Ward sticker on it. First, I would like to point out the awesome 70s artwork that it had on the boxes and cartridges. And each cartridge was numbered so you could keep track of what you had. Apparently, the higher the number, the more the cart is worth. This is because fewer copies of the later video carts were produced. And also, check out the awesome yellow carts. Can you imagine if all the NES carts were yellow? At least the Famicom Disk System games were yellow. And now, let's take a look at some games. Video cart number 10 has maze games on it, and they all seem to feature mice for some reason. I think the one we played the most on this cartridge was called Jailbreak. This one is similar to Maze Craze, if anyone remembers that. You have a red square and a blue square that are controlled by each player. Whoever makes it to the end wins.
Yay. I won!
Good job, but it punishes us both. There are several different variations, and this one is actually pretty fun. Probably mostly due to the fact that you can just pick up and play it and not have to read through a ton of instructions. If I was a kid in the 70s, I'd probably play this one a lot. Video cart number 13 has a game called Robot War, and it's represented by a little robot duder that looks suspiciously an awful lot like R2-D2. Was it possible that George Lucas was inspired by the Fairchild Channel F? Probably not. Yeah, the game came out a few months before Star Wars did, but I'm just messing around. In regards to the actual game, I honestly don't have much to say about it. It was hard to figure out and kind of annoying to control. On video cart number 17, I actually really liked Pinball Challenge, because of course I would. There's a breakaway game here that's similar to the Sears Telegames pinball breakaway system that I talked about last year. If you like video pinball and breakaway, you'd probably appreciate this one, but honestly, I'd rather play Breakout on Google Images. Hangman was surprisingly one of the best games I played for the system. It's a simple game, but it was executed wonderfully. I actually didn't want to stop playing this one, and it's even more fun when you're playing with a partner. Video cart number 21. Bowling. In bowling, the pins look like air hockey pucks, or Atari 2600 controllers, whichever you prefer. And once you get a hang of the controls and how to twist the knob to aim, this one is pretty fun. Next to Hangman, this was one of the most fun games I played on the system, and it was kind of hard to stop. Video cart 22, Slot Machine. So I know you can't really see the cover because it has this awesome Montgomery Ward sticker on it, but you get the idea. Surprisingly enough, Slot Machine has probably some of the best graphics on the system. The slot machine animation is pretty cute, and you can clearly make out the symbols. It makes me want to snuggle up with a glass of wine and play it continuously. Erin is gonna be hooked up to the oxygen tank playing Fairchild slot machine, smoking cigarettes. Yup. Video cart number 26, Alien Invasion. Yeah, it's a blank box. And the cartridge isn't too fancy either. So of course there's a Space Invaders clone on the system, because why wouldn't there be? Alien Invasion is definitely playable, and better than I thought it would be. The shapes of the alien invaders are unique, and I like this little guy with the long legs the most. I'd recommend picking this one up if you're looking to buy Fairchild games, but it's kind of pricey. So after finally being able to play the system for myself, I can kind of see why it was passed up by its competitors. It's playable, had some fun games, but it just didn't have what it takes to become an iconic system like the Atari 2600. However, it's definitely an important part of video game history, and hopefully thanks to the internet, maybe its legacy can live on.